From Pittsburgh's historic South Side, a soggy South Side here in Pittsburgh, PA. It's USL Championship Soccer as two teams off to pretty close to ideal starts will collide here this evening at Highmark Stadium. I'm Matt Geico alongside Gene Klein, bringing you the play-by-play and the analysis respectively this evening on ESPN+. As you can see there, not the best night for sitting outside, but the hardy Steel Army will be here, no doubt, for a collision of two teams who have to be feeling pretty good about how they've started the 2019 USL Championship season. As for St. Louis, Gene Klein, they're back in the Eastern Conference after a year out west, second year under head coach Anthony Pulis, and it looks like the familiarity has done them well.
Yeah, they've done very well. I mean, certainly having Anthony Pulis back the second year has helped a lot. I think also moving into the Eastern Conference, a lot of natural rivalries, Matt, easier travel schedule. I'm sure it's going to really enhance the entire division.
You remember Memphis coming in this year, Birmingham, who St. Louis played in their last matchup, the American South being developed and colonized by the USL, if you will. So St. Louis tied for first place in the East. The Hounds are coming on strong, though, unbeaten in 4. That's tied for the longest unbeaten streak in the league, and unbeaten in their last 9 here, in fact, at Highmark Stadium. And one big difference with the Hounds this year, Gene, under second-year head coach Bob Lilly, is the big man at the top of the formation, Steven Dos Santos.
Yeah, I think it's made a big difference, Matt, because he has made everybody around him a lot better. Not only is he a quality player, but his qualities really help players, as we see Kevin Kerr right there scoring a terrific goal, and also Nico Brett as goal scorers against Hartford last week.
Dos Santos scored his first Riverhounds goal last week, and as you see there, things were great for Pittsburgh, upending the expansion club in the home opener. This is the second of 3 consecutive home games for the Hounds, trying to take advantage with a big challenge here tonight against St. Louis. We'll have the kickoff after this on ESPN+.
Okay, go ahead and stand up for me. Good. Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is just...
Now, if you get home and that's a little more tender.
Can I give you a hug? I can't believe it. I was in surgery this morning. Oh my gosh.
Call 412 Doctors to schedule an appointment at Allegheny Health Network.
The Riverhounds complete their April homestand Saturday, April 27th, when Nashville SC comes to town for a 7 p.m. match at Highmark Stadium. It's Be the Kind Kid Night, presented by Kidsburg. The first 500 kids 12 and under will receive a Be the Kind Kid t-shirt to help support anti-bullying in our surrounding schools. You can use the promo code 20 at Ticketmaster and get 2 seats for the match for just $20. Find out more at riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
I should have been a cowboy. Toby Keith and his That's Country Bro Tour 2019. Red Solo Cup. Live in concert. I fill you up, made in America. Friday, September 27th at Highmark Stadium. How do you like me now? Toby Keith. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Drusky Entertainment and Kirchner Concerts. Toby Keith and his That's Country Bro Tour.
Explore a world of music on WQED.
Explore sweater sessions on WQED.
Explore educational opportunities.
Explore science.
Explore early childhood learning.
Explore Nebby on WQED.
Explore the power of the arts.
Explore Pittsburgh Eats.
Explore diversity on WQED.
Game number 6 of the season for Pittsburgh, number 7 for St. Louis, and here's the starting 11 for bench boss Anthony Pulis and St. Louis FC here in town for the first time since 2017. Getting the start for the 7th time this year, Jake Fenlison between the sticks. Reynolds, Fink, Kavita, and Boehner across the back. Kadim Dakers, a USL veteran in the midfield, alongside the playmaker Lewis Hilton. Guy Abend, the Israeli native, in the starting 11. Russell Cicerone, formerly of FC Cincy, rounds out the 4 in the middle, and then Rivas and Gregg at the top of that formation. Gene, looking like a 4-4-2 here.
Looks like a 4-4-2 for St. Louis, Matt. They're pretty solid with their back 4, and they've been solid defensively all year, so they'll be very well organized under Anthony Pulis.
Yeah, last week they gave up 3 goals. Prior to that, it was just 2 in their first 5, including a couple of clean sheets on the road. As for the Hounds, decked out in their black and their gold, we'll see this following tableau. Ben Lundgaard gets his 3rd consecutive start. The Columbus Crew loanee, once again, being the anchor back there with James, Adewale, Greenspan, and Dover on the back. Thomas Vankiazil, 2nd-year pro, as the holding midfielder. Kerr, Forbes, Dabo, and Brett will push the attack, and Dos Santos right up top. Possibly a 4-1-4-1. We'll see how it plays out in the opening minutes.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays off. We know Coach Bob Lilly likes to change some things around. But the last time this 11 was here against Louisville City, they were in the 4-1-4-1. Thomas Vankiazil will like to sit in front of the back 4 and really fill that space, which allows Modabo and Canardo Forms to push a little bit higher up the field. It will also allow Kevin Kerr and Nico Brett to have some freedom on the flank and join Steven DeSantos up front.
Well, it's a sparser crowd than the home opener, with the rain continuing to pour down. We started off in the 70s and sunny at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It was looking like a perfect night. Instead, well, if you like this kind of weather, you might think it's perfect, as the ball will skid along the new artificial surface here at Highmark Stadium. And we are playing soccer here on the south side as St. Louis FC tries to make something happen here. It's banged off the body of Mo Dabo and out for a throw for St. Louis FC, dressed in all white this evening. Ripped across by Sean Reynolds. The switch of play. On over there, Kadim Dakers. He'll get a lot of touches, as will Lewis Hilton in the midfield here for St. Louis, with a record of 4-1-1. They suffered their first loss of the season last week against Birmingham. Foul called against St. Louis. Dos Santos was dumped. Play continues on down to our right.
We see right away what Dos Santos brings to the Riverhounds, Matt, is as they're trying to find those channels into his feet. He tries to hold the ball on and bring other players into the game, and they're going to continue to look for him throughout this match.
There's Big Joe Greenspan sending a deep ball. Dabo unable to get on the end of that one. 2nd minute here. Pittsburgh trying to extend its unbeaten streak to 5. It's tied for the longest currently in USL, the 36-team league, USL championship, I should say. Hounds at 2-0-2 since an opening loss at Tampa Bay. This goes too far for Dos Santos. A couple of pushes up into the attacking third for the Hounds here. Pittsburgh had the slight edge in possession last week against expansion Hartford Athletic, but really did a good job of keeping the ball in the attacking third early and often. Gene, they out-touched Hartford 32-11 in the 18-yard box last week.
Yeah, they really started off really well against Hartford and really dominating things, and I'm sure that they're going to want to get off to a similar start today. Just watch and see how we're playing a little bit. We see Vankiazil dropping pretty deep between Toby Adewale and Joe Greenspan. So again, in that 4-1-4-1. But also seeing Kevin Kerr and Nico Brett playing somewhat narrow in those gaps. We see Dabo pushing a little bit high. So, you know, how this formation works out, we'll keep an eye on it, but it does look like St. Louis is in a 4-4-2.
Ryan James, the outside back, all the way in the attacking corner. Canadian-born player, low cross, and headed clear by Sam Fink in his 95th appearance for St. Louis FC, leads this current bunch. It's a corner kick for Pittsburgh, which last week I think we went 80 minutes without a corner kick, so here we go in the third. That was an oddity.
Yeah, and Sam Fink, quality play for them. Veteran player, Wake Forest guy, St. Louis native, scored a couple big goals for them already this year.
Hounds have 2 goals off set pieces this year, and this is headed clear by Kyle Gregg, the forward. Back putting in a defensive shift. Lifting this one is Dover toward Vankiazil. Fenlison went up, tried to punch it, and the foul called against Pittsburgh. A little overzealous there, Vankiazil and Toby Adewale, the big back.
And Fenlison a little bit had to come a long way for that one. Tough one for him to handle, and collision that resulted in the foul against Pittsburgh.
Well, there you see on your device screen, yes, the rain continues to fall. We're looking at a steady, at least a steady rain, maybe some downpours coming up too, just glancing at the radar. This will be out for a St. Louis throw. Jake Fenlison, by the way, has 3 clean sheets on the year already. St. Louis has been stout defensively, except for last week. So, well, they'll try to make amends for that here as they hit the road for just the 3rd time this season.
Fenlison's University of Akron product. What a quality program, and that has been produced so many professionals here at the USL as well as MLS. Their other keeper, Ben Lunt, is now with Louisville City. So we saw him a couple weeks ago.
Adewale tried to get a header in there as he collided with Gregg. Kyle Gregg, 48 USL goals, has won this season. 29-year-old Wisconsinite. He'll be up there with Joaquin Rivas, who nearly led St. Louis back. There's an errant feed from Thomas Vankiezeel of Pittsburgh. St. Louis trailed 3-1, but Rivas won a penalty kick and then, well, by all rights, probably should have scored on an entry ball to the box in the final minutes, but St. Louis had to settle for the 3-2 defeat on the home pitch in Fenton, Missouri.
Looking at the Riverhounds and how they're playing, the Canardo Forbes has been dropping deep, but then it will come a little bit higher. So at times it is right now it looks like the 4-1 defensively, but we're also seeing Nico Brett and Kevin Kirk pushing up a little bit higher, and either Forbes or Dabo will push up to almost become a 4-2-3-1. So a lot of flexibility in how Bob Lilly likes to play, but we're also going to see a lot of movement from both Kevin Kerr and I think Nico Brett, because one of the things that Dos Santos brings is that those guys have a lot of flexibility and mobility in how they're playing and where they're going to end up, because Dos Santos is the guy who's going to stretch the back four of St. Louis.
Pittsburgh has spread around the goals from its attacking players. It's off of Pittsburgh head and toward the Monongahela River over there, and those river seats, which aren't terribly occupied so far tonight, as you might imagine. Harder to find cover over on that side of the field.
Yeah.
But anyway, Nico Brett with 2 goals, Kevin Kerr with a pair, including the, well, show-stopping winner last week. We had a couple of show-stopping goals here against Hartford, with Jose Angulo, the former Hound, scoring what was later deemed to be the USL goal of the week from the fan vote. Hard to argue with that, but Kerr's was a beauty as well.
Yeah, well, 2, as you said, 2 goals that were deservedly up for goal of the week, and you can't question Angulo's absolute laser from about 35, 40 yards out.
I enjoyed his quote after the game. He said, "The goal looks bigger for me here at the stadium." It sure does. He's one of the all-time leaders in goals scored at this facility now in its 7th season, believe it or not. Opened in 2013. As here's Mo Dabo again, way up in the attack here. We've seen more of that from him this year, Lily deploying him further up.
Yeah, last year he did. He sat deeper and really played that holding midfielder spot and was pretty consistent in that. And we have seen him push a little bit higher in the field. And I think part of that is because he's happy to leave Vankiezeel behind him, because he knows he has 2 solid center backs in Greenspan and Adewale.
Second foul called against the Hounds here. Whoa. That was Lewis Hilton.
Yeah, Dabo a little bit showed the boot to studs up, and which resulted in the foul.
Just a couple of yellow cards issued to these 2 teams so far, about a month and a week into the season. So 2 teams have played it clean. 2 teams very organized. It's going to be difficult to break through. And we'll see how the conditions affect things too. The ball will be skidding a little bit more than usual. So here's Hilton on the restart. Vankiezeel has that one measured. Can't quite get it outside of the 18, but a missed header from Russell Cicerone. Well, went off of a Hound, in fact, so he'll at least get a throw deep in the corner.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how St. Louis responds. I mean, they had been a real lockdown defensively and very stingy through until last week against Birmingham. So I'm sure Coach Anthony Pulis wants to return to those ways, and they've done a lot of work this week, making sure that they're going to try to nail down the front attackers for Pittsburgh.
Sean Reynolds lifted it to the far wing. Ryan James sent down to the pitch. Hounds get the ball in hand over on the far side. Pittsburgh has not lost at home since last July. It's a 9-game unbeaten streak, not counting the playoffs, just regular season games. They had the penalty kick loss to Bethlehem, but
Matt, how I know you always want your home field to be really, really difficult to play and make it your own little domain. But I think Bob Lilly has really emphasized that the last 2 years, and they really want to make this a fortress of sorts for the opposing teams, and it's tough to come here and play. We're comfortable with this stadium. The Riverhounds train here all the time, and they want to do their best to make sure that if any team comes away here with points, they're going to have to earn it.
Just 2 losses here all of last season, Nashville and aforementioned the one in July against the Charleston Battery. Touch and go start here. Neither team has really generated much in the opening 9 minutes and change. Femlison driving one up the right flank. Greenspan leads this team in clears, and it's not even close so far this season. Big Joe, the man from the Naval Academy. Now running onto it here is Kadeem Dakers. Put it across, and the ball is drilled up into the front office area on the balcony of Highmark Stadium.
Yeah, well done there by Thomas Vankiazil, tracking back on Kyle Gregg, who made a very nice run. And then you said the Akers was very dangerous going down that right flank. But Vankiazil was able to track Gregg and got a foot on that to send it away. Otherwise, that ball is on Gregg's foot.
Gregg has finished 1 goal this season. I mentioned his track record. Here's the first corner for St. Louis FC.
Oh, deep one.
Go a different way here. Yeah. Out to Rivas, who chests it down. Rivas couldn't get it through. A couple of hounds in his way. Looking like a swarm of bumblebees there, as they do in these kits. Dos Santos off the leg of Brett. Let it go for a moment. Then he realized, well, I'm still the closest man to it. So Brett keeps it going. Over there is Kevin Kirk, 7th-year hound, sending it into the box. And James made a run, in fact, crossing over from his left flank to the right post, and was about a yard away from getting on the end of it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I had to look twice to see who's there, because I'm expecting Jordan Dover to be in that spot, and it was Ryan James from his left back spot coming out from there, and almost got on the end of that. So good counter by the Riverhounds to break out from that, from their defensive end.
Kevin Kerr has created 8 chances so far this season, second on the team, and he is at 26 career assists, tied with David Flavius, first all-time in the franchise's history. This is the 19th season for Pittsburgh. We're calling it the 20th anniversary season, though, so you'll see a lot of that imagery around the park. Brett, James, back up to the midfield stripe. Dos Santos couldn't quite handle it. And St. Louis takes over again. Hilton, told you he's going to touch the ball a lot, the 25-year-old Englishman. Now back here to Kavita, native of the Congo. He started all 7 so far for Anthony Pulis. Pulis got this St. Louis team to the postseason for the first time in its 5-year history now. Last year, when they were in the West, they made it as the 8th seed. Now back in the East. They started in the East in 2015, went West in 16, East in 17, West in 18, and they're hoping the East is a more permanent residence for them now.
Well, yeah, and we don't know how permanent, because the news this week is, you know, the MLS Board of Governors made the decision to expand their next expansion to 30 teams, which the speculation is that teams 28 and 29 might be 2 USL teams, Sacramento and St. Louis.
Well, here's Kerr putting one into the mix. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that as time permits. Forbes could not keep it bottled in, and here comes St. Louis.
Yeah, good counter from St. Louis. Broke out well.
Rivas to Cicerone, but there's Joe Greenspan getting in the way, and then he wags his finger at the head referee.
Yeah, no call by the referee. St. Louis was not happy with that one.
Eric Tattersall is the man in charge tonight. Ian McKay, Brad Newman, his assistants. Okay, so we see a burst from Rivas. The Hounds will have to be wary of the man from El Salvador, who has a couple of caps for the senior national team, in fact, and a goal. Rivas, 26 years old, wearing number 11 for the boys in white tonight. Hilton to the middle of the park here. Gaia Bend off a noggin and right in on Ben Lundgaard. Former Virginia Tech Hokie, number 21 overall pick in last year's MLS Super Draft by Columbus. He was loaned out last year to Indy, didn't play a single match, and he's been much more active here this year. Lundgaard at 6'5", wearing the blue keeper's kit tonight. Puts the boot to it, looking for Dos Santos. He's a good target, but it's headed away from his purview. Then it's off the body here of Cicerone and back out for a Riverhounds throw.
Really impressed with St. Louis, Matt, watching some of their previous games and just obviously seeing them first time live here tonight with how well organized they are with their backs. They know each other well. They keep their lines pretty tight. Very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for the Riverhounds to play through. I don't know if they're going to have as much space available as they did last week against Hartford, and already you see there's immediate pressure anytime Kevin Kerr or Nico Brett or Steven DeSantos are seeing the ball. So it's going to be important for the Riverhounds to have constant movement and mobility to try to find these little spaces, but and to break them down at all. Because they're going to need that quality in between the lines.
Well, there the Hounds press forces a turnover. Sean Reynolds, a bit of a panicked move there. He thought that Cicerone was much closer to him on the touchline. Dabo getting around it. Here's Kevin Kerr, the Scotsman, to Dabo from Senegal, but the Hounds mishandle this one. And in a start befitting the weather, it's a bit sloppy in the opening 15.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons both teams are a little conservative right now, trying to get their feet, trying to sort out the weather conditions, and you know, not much fluidity, not much tempo or rhythm right now. You know, one or two passes, a loss of possession. Everybody's a little bit cautious and conservative until they try to sort out the opponent, the opposite. Movement, you know, neither Nico Brett or Kevin Kerr are going to be in one spot at any point of the game. And again, a lot of that is the point man, Steven DeSantos, because they can play off of him. And I think that's been really, really helpful for both Kevin's game and Nico Brett's game.
Cicerone in a box over here on this near side, but St. Louis finds some open pasture on the far wing. Look at Dabo reaching out with that footer. Pardon me, Ryan James, actually. James getting in the way to... Select a little waterlogged this evening. It's the third real weather game, though, for St. Louis. A couple of times at home they've had to battle through conditions. First time for Pittsburgh, though, that the Hounds have played in something less than ideal.
Yeah, quite a contrast from last week. It was just absolute beautiful conditions. And as I think you mentioned, earlier in the afternoon it looked like similar conditions, but now it's you know, right around game time, the storms hit and led us to a delay, and now the rain's coming down steadily, but hopefully no more delays with the Lightning.
Boehner just barely kept that win on the far wing. Boehner played for Harrisburg City Islanders and also Cincinnati. He's a vet of this league too. Plenty of vets on this St. Louis side.
Yeah, there really are. I mean, we saw Kadeem DeAkers playing on that right midfield spot. He's been around the league for a while. Louisville City, and so we've seen him with that particular group. He's a creative player. He just plays a good ball.
Here comes Boehner, right in, and it's off of Gregg. He had a heavy touch, and Lundgaard snaps it up.
Yeah, that was really good combination play from St. Louis that time. Yeah, we see Kadeem DeAkers come inside. He's able to find Matt Boehner, the outside back, overlapping him, and then boom, they try to find Cal Gregg inside. So Cal Gregg has made some consistent runs into that channel. The Riverhounds have been very alert. You can be sure Bob Woolley has had them prepared for that, and they've been able to track them. But they're going to have to keep on that the entire game. If they let their guard down a second, he'll continue to make those runs. And it looks like St. Louis likes to combine by either having their midfielders coming in and their outside backs overlapping, or vice versa. I've seen Reynolds come inside a little bit sometimes, and Cicerone coming onto the outside. So as we see.
Well, Kerr with the intercept, and now it's Dover.
Yeah, Dover coming forward.
Couldn't slide it through. Here's Greenspan stepping to, though. And Hilton settles. Reynolds on back into his keeper, Jake Fenlison. Didn't get much on that, but got enough on it, especially in terms of elevation. But now Kerr's going to run onto a loose ball at the edge of the area. Kerr slid down. Maybe didn't have to. And now St. Louis and Reynolds trying to get around it, and that's successful. It's back to Hilton, who's going to let this ball roll and out over the byline.
Yeah, but good pressure from the Riverhounds that time, with Kevin Kerr and then Jordan Dover stepping up pretty high to knock that down, and it just went across the end line. But a little bit of pressure there, and they couldn't let. And St. Louis had a difficult time with Kavita trying to play out, and Reynolds also. They were hemmed in pretty good from the work of Kevin Kerr, Jordan Dover, Modabo, etc.
Last time out, St. Louis happy with how it played in the attacking end. Probably could have had 4 or 5. Anthony Pulis said just a couple of moments where we switched off. That led to Birmingham striking. Birmingham beat Louisville and St. Louis back-to-back on the road. How about that for the
it's
young
not bad
Legion.
for an expansion team. Yep. And I think that's a good indicator how competitive this conference is going to be.
Well, we saw it last week with Hartford. Yes, a 3-1 loss for them here to drop to 0-6 it was. And now 0-7 after the loss to Red Bulls 2. But they're right in this one. Or that one last week, right here at
it's really
field.
surprising with Hartford, because as we saw last week, it's an experienced group. They have some really quality players. They have an outstanding coach. Long season, I'm sure they'll get back into the thick of things.
And they're almost to the finish line of that 8-game trip to start the year while their field gets ready for play.
Nothing more brutal than starting off that way.
Again, Dover connecting to Kerr on this right flank. Kerr deflecting that off the thigh of Sean Reynolds. And Kerr gets it right back.
We see Kevin Kerr's activity again, able to, even though the space is very, very tight, and he has Cicerone chasing him all over the place, he's still able to find the ball, and he couldn't really turn with it, but they're able to find Kevin Kerr. He's already seen a lot of the ball, and that is the quality that he brings to the game, because he's always going to be in little spots where the guys in the back or the midfield can have an easy pass to him.
Kerr in his 7th season, as I mentioned earlier. Only David Flavius has a longer tenure with the Hounds at 8 years. I called Kerr Mr. Riverhound last week on the broadcast. I thought, is that appropriate? Well, at least in the modern era, high mark era, it is.
Yeah.
Very much so. Dos Santos pressuring Fanuel Kavita. And Dos Santos hasn't gathered the ball in yet, but he does force that giveaway. Hounds setting up, sending some men into the box. 4 in there, in fact. Dover's going to decide where this one goes. To the foot of Dos Santos. The Cape Verde-born striker lost control as he was stripped by Dakers, but
good step.
Giving it right back is St. Louis, and a missed kick from Canardo Forbes goes well wide of the net.
But well read by Canardo. Stepped right into that spot, won the ball. Just, couldn't strike it cleanly to get it on frame.
You know, it was interesting talking to Bob Lilly this week at training. I was curious if Forbes is playing a little bit further retracted than we saw last year, and Bob said not really. In fact, he's encouraging Forbes to step up and look for his shot more often. He's such a distributor, but he thinks Canardo still has something left in him in terms of putting some more goals on the board, so they're encouraging to see him.
Well, exactly, and we did see him score some big ones last year, Matt. So
yeah, especially late in the season.
Exactly, so we know that he has that ability. Obviously, Bob does too, and that's I think that's again one of the changes that we've seen with the 2019 version of the Riverhounds. when I look at Mo Dabo, I look at Canardo Forbes. They both are more willing to play a little bit higher, as we see again.
That was Boehner sending
Boehner trying to send one in. Yep.
Adewale intercepted it. Former George Washington University standout. Adewale in his 3rd year with the Hounds. 2nd full season, really. Got plenty of starts and appearances last year. This is off of Dos Santos, and then a St. Louis player and into touch. 25th minute. Riverhounds still looking for their first clean chance, their first clean shot on target. It's taken a while for them to build it up. By this point last week, they had the 1-0 lead on the Dos Santos header. It's a 14th minute.
Good step from Thomas
Icebreaker.
Vanke as he'll sitting back. Well, reads it, distributes.
Brett.
To Nico Brett.
Kirk, can he settle? No, he cannot. Rare mishandle from Kevin. That gives the ball right back over. If you're curious how St. Louis has played it out possession-wise this year, 43% average possession. So they haven't been afraid to sit back. They've been protecting some leads too, so not entirely fair to look at that and say they're a counterattack team. But they're okay with settling in a little bit, letting you play with the ball.
They are that foul there against Kevin Kerr.
Rivas stripped him.
Yep. They are more direct than some of the teams you've seen, which I don't think they're worried about the possession. A good ball from Dover. Yeah.
Quick restart. Kerr caught St. Louis napping a bit, and there's Dabo getting a foot on it. Pardon me, Forbes. Kerr's ball in. Fenlison punches it with 2 fists. Forbes goes up. Rivas, can he win it? No.
Nico.
James to Brett to Forbes, and now Kerr near side. Hounds looking dangerous here. Back post cross, and a corner kick from all that.
Yeah, good combination play from the Riverhounds again. We saw terrific movement, and ultimately ends up over here with Kevin Kerr on the right flank, and he's looking for the big man Dos Santos on the back post.
Canardo Forbes, the captain of the Hounds, will take this corner kick. He already has 1 assist on such a situation this year. Right-footed in swinger. Greenspan's there, back across the face of goal, and cleared out by Boehner.
Well, they're looking at their main target, which is always going to be Greenspan. Of course, Adewale is always in there. Vanke is ill, but Big Joe Greenspan is going to be the main guy, and he got a head on it, just couldn't put it, really get it down towards goal. But I think actually he was trying to head it back across, and hopefully somebody else was running onto that, because he really was not in a good position to take it towards goal.
We haven't seen that connect yet, the header back across the face. But we've seen the Hounds try it, and it's usually Greenspan, the initial target. Kerr wanting to slide that one through to Dos Santos, broken up.
Yeah, broken up by Cavite. He did well there to actually break that up.
James, he's keeping St. Louis bottled in here very well. Ryan James, the back, playing more central at the moment, and now here's Forbes way out wide. Forbes to Thomas Vanke Azil, who steps up. Heavy touch, betrayed him. And now Greenspan tries to keep it alive. And what's the call here? It'll be a throw on the deflection. Eric Tattersall points in the direction of the Steel Army down to our right. It's where the Hounds are attacking here in the first half. 0-0 Pittsburgh and St. Louis. These two teams' first meeting since 2017. Back in the same conference. Dover ran through, and referee says play on, saying that Gaia Ben was not at fault. Cicerone, and he's hip checked by Greenspan, and advantage given. Play continues, and well, St. Louis didn't take advantage of the advantage in that spot.
No, they didn't. I mean, tough one for the referee because he went down, Cicerone, and but St. Louis continued to play, and Kadeem Diakers was way open and almost took advantage of that because I think that it was a hesitation for the Riverhounds. So, you know, and the Riverhounds lost it earlier trying to dribble through, and I don't think that's going to be the way. I mean, they're, you know, as we mentioned earlier, St. Louis very well organized, very tight with their back four. Their back four is doing extremely well right now. I love their 2 center backs, and Cavita and Fink, and you know, they're going to have to find ways to get some quick movement and combine, you know, behind the midfield or get that second ball in behind.
Someone just got a yellow card on the Hound side, and I don't know who it was. It was flashed into open space by Tattersall. Was it back to Lundgaard for taking too much time? I couldn't quite tell.
I couldn't see either, Matt.
I didn't think it was a delay, and now Guy Abend is chatting with referee Tattersall. Greenspan gets the yellow card. So that's what we're hearing from down at the table, where fourth official Paul DeVerse, standing guard.
Kind of.
Okay, so Greenspan goes in the book here. Well, Greenspan did run into Cicerone, but Greenspan also gave Cicerone a pat on the back after that, so it wasn't anything that sprung up from that collision. Could have been some insubordination with the referee. That's the only thing I can figure right now. So Greenspan in the books. And we play on with no goals yet on the board. Dover to throw. To the corner for Kerr. Crashing in Reynolds. But again, the Hounds have it. Having a tough time so far cracking this St. Louis defensive core. Dos Santos can't win that one cleanly, and rushing in is Cicerone. Switch of play has Dakers, but can Dakers get there before the sideline? Yes, he can easily, in fact. So the train charges by. Dakers sliding one, and Adewale with a step up. Vankia Zeal, last year's Hounds Rookie of the Year, set the rookie record for minutes played in a season for a Riverhound.
St. Louis back very, very quickly. As soon as they lost it there, and again, they're dropping back, making it, again, very tight and making sure they got numbers behind the ball.
You can already tell it's going to be a challenging evening. We expected that with St. Louis's track record so far. Dos Santos bangs it off a body, comes loose to Dover, but he's upset with himself. He couldn't flick it in the direction of Dabo right there at the penalty arc.
Yeah, nice touch from Greg to Kadeem Dakers, and St. Louis is on the attack, trying to catch in the counter. Good shot.
Dakers' shot blocked down by Greenspan, who sends out, and the Hounds can regroup here. St. Louis this year looking for a little more creativity up front. Cicerone, a bend added to that effect, and a team that did defend well last year, much like the Hounds, in fact. They're trying to add something a little bit in terms of being assertive and creative.
Yeah, they're, you know, and we see that with every team a little bit. You know, everybody's looking for those one or two guys that can be a little bit of a difference maker, maybe bring a little more creativity in the midfield, or that extra dangerous player up front that's going to get them, you know, 15 goals throughout the season, and that can be a lot of crucial points, because this is going to be a very, very competitive schedule and conference for everyone here, because, you know, I think top to bottom we're gonna see not a huge gap. There's a lot of quality on every team.
Kerr to Greenspan. Be sure to tune in Wednesday, April 30th, ESPN USL Championship Game of the Week. Expansion side Memphis 901 and the two-time defending champs Louisville City. It's the week's best match on the Game of the Week, April 30th. ESPN 3, ESPN Plus is where you can catch that. ESPN Plus is where you're catching this one. I'm Matt Geica with Gene Klein. And this is Pittsburgh's second of 3 consecutive home matches. Hounds won the first one, 3-1 last week against Hartford.
St. Louis very content to let the Riverhounds have the ball in this part of the field. They're not going to chase it. They're going to let them have it, but they're going to sit back. They're going to, you know, they're going to hold their back line about 25, 30 yards out, and their midfield line staying very, very tight and very connected with them. You know, with the 4-4-2 with Rivas and Greg, they'll try to direct the play a little bit. The Hounds are going to try to keep it, but there's not a lot of space in behind them. So they're going to, again, try to keep it tight and maybe play out early and get a quick break.
Here's a rip from Brett, and Fenlison has to make his first save. Might not have been on frame, but he didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah,
and certainly didn't want to spill the rebound Dabo was sniffing around.
Yeah, and Fenlison did well there to hold on it, because you could see how the ball skipped right away. I mean, Nico Brett hit that from fairly far out, and boom, hits the turf and accelerates a little bit. And he did well to hold on to that. So we can see how dangerous the conditions are.
Brett, who came into this match with just 5 shots, will make it 6. He wants to get a little more volume, even though it's not just a one-man show. Not that it was necessarily last year, but at times it was Brett the primary option. A little different this year. The Hounds have spread it around as we've discussed. So here's Reynolds for St. Louis, setting up shop. Hilton, Reynolds, and Kavita.
So
Dos Santos pressing him. Hounds trying to box in St. Louis on that far side. Kerr rises up, and Pittsburgh has the ball back. Forbes, the patient one, the distributor, dishes off. Ryan James has some room to run. James's cross, I thought it was a cross, I believe it was, ends up in the arms of Fenlison nonetheless.
Fennel wants everybody to go a little bit higher, and he's going to play this one deep.
35th minute, 0-0. Pittsburgh has 8 goals in its past 4. A few kicks at the can here, but nothing terrific yet in terms of chances. Adewale did well to keep that in with his left boot. And now Dabo chests it down. Brett. And the Hounds back in command.
And I think, the Riverhounds are going to have to stay patient because, again, how St. Louis, again, well organized. They're going to choose their moments of when to push everybody up high. But if the Pittsburgh Riverhounds get the ball, they're gonna drop their lines back and they will be content to allow the Riverhounds to have it in their half of the field. But when they have opportunities to go, they're gonna push their team up.
Well, here's a direct ball in search of Greg was St. Louis, but not to be. Pittsburgh has also stayed together pretty well on that backside. Just the one chance for Greg on the deflection. Other than that, it's been pretty airtight at both ends.
Yeah, as we can see Cal Gregg going up higher. And when he goes, boom. Now, the Akers and Cicerone on the outside, and Rivas will come up to join him and force Lundgaard to play the long ball. And then they're going to try to collect those second balls back. So it's going to depend on how they lead the lines up high.
Dabo, a talented play there to find Brett. Drags it, feeds it. Forbes, Brett, 20 yards out. Nico having some trouble with that ball, but did find a way to get it over to Kerr. And the cross was a little too high for Brett on the give and go try. Deflected out to Pittsburgh on the river side of the pitch. James. Dangerous ball there, and Kavita got in the way.
Yeah, DeSantos and Kavita, good challenge. But I like what the Riverhounds are doing here on the right flank with Kevin Kerr. He's had a number of excellent deliveries inside the 6, looking for that far corner of the 6 or the back post. And but again, St. Louis drops off. They read them, and they're nailing those. They're clearing those crosses. But all it takes is one, and I think that's what they're looking for. But the Hounds that is the one area where the Hounds are having a little bit of success with some deliveries from Kevin Kerr.
The big man Dos Santos.
Here we go again.
Leaves it to Kerr. Back to big number 8, lets it fly. Oh, and a deflection by Kavita. I think Fenlison had it measured, but Kavita did not want to take a chance. It's a corner kick for the Hounds.
And almost a dangerous own goal there because I agree with you. I think Fenlison did have it measured, or it would have gone wide, and then all of a sudden cleared it on the opposite side of the goal.
Third corner kick for the Hounds. Is this the one that allows them to break through?
Looking for Greenspan, the back post there.
A little bit too deep for him. Gaia Bend, the first touch for St. Louis, but it's given right back to the Hounds by Cicerone. Dover, high stepping, feeding Vanki Azil. Now near wing, Brett. The cross over the head of Dos Santos. Forbes, Kerr. Oh, a little flick from Vanki Azil, but broken up by Boehner. Deep one from James, rising up was Fenlison.
Oh.
Brett has a go, and it's stopped by Fenlison, and it's a 4th corner for the Hounds, and Fenlison is upset.
Yeah, he wants a foul on that play. There was a big collision there, and he was knocked down, but he alertly was up to make that save on Nico Brett. But it all started earlier from, again, a serve from the right flank from Nico, and boom, gets that shot up, and then it went back to the left and comes back into him. And a shot, and Fenlison, well done there, got up quickly after the collision and was able to make the save.
That was Toby Adewale who was up, the back for the Hounds in the picture. Kerr bending it out to the edge of the 6, defended well, but sent right back in, and here's Dos Santos cracking Fenlison, and that may be a card.
Yeah,
it
is. Yep.
So Steven Dos Santos, well, he disagrees, but he delivered the boom to Fenlison with the ball in the air. Dos Santos saying that he changed his position last moment, but
well, I think he's saying, hey, I went shoulder to shoulder with him, and
a lot of force though. We'll say
yeah,
that.
And
so Dos Santos gets his first yellow of the season.
As maybe we'll see it here, tough from that angle, but
he's going after the ball, but he went right through the keeper.
Yeah.
So the Hounds get carded. So they were empty in that area last week.
Yeah, 2 already this half. So
2 of the biggest guys on the field. Maybe playing a little too big here with Greenspan and Dos Santos.
I'm chuckling watching Bob Lilly working the 4th official and describing the entire play, and with the pretty good goalkeeper technique, showing the keeper's leg up and what exactly happened, and he's getting an earful, or he's giving an earful right now to the 4th.
The flick on from Steven Dos Santos does not connect, and so it's Sam Fink in possession. Fink actually leads this squad with 3 goals, 2 of those on PKs. Big pressure from Dos Santos. Fenlison got it off to Reynolds. He did well, in fact, at Fenlison under that kind of stress. Greenspan athletically nods it ahead over Dabo's area, and now back to Rivas and Reynolds and to the keeper Fenlison. So now under 5 to go in this first half. Can't imagine too much stoppage will be added on.
We can see where it's, I mean, there's only been a few times where St. Louis has tried to build through Hilton. And you know, they're dropping it back, sending it long, trying to find the big guy Greg up top, and he tries to get a knockdown, and then they come up to play. So, you know, back to your earlier stat where normally they're getting out-possessed, that, you know, their style's a little bit more direct in that way. They're not going to try to work it around or break some teams down from a lot of short movement.
Kerr's driven ball could not get over Boehner though on the far flank. Dos Santos mishandled that, and it's Hilton trying to send Greg away. Greg took a tumble, and there'll be no whistle there either.
Yeah, he came. He and Toby Adewale were trying to get to that, and Adewale just cut across him really, and there's no foul.
And Bob Lilly is still getting on the 4th official, Paul DeVers. Maybe he wanted an embellishment or a simulation call there, I'm not sure, but or he could still be talking about the yellow card to Dos Santos. That's always a possibility.
That is definitely a possibility.
Kerr rising but bumping with Reynolds, and the ball was too tall for Kerr anyway. Steel Army now starting to make itself heard.
As we look down to the 4th official and look at both coaches, I mean, what an unenviable job. I mean, not only does he have to hear from those coaches, poor guy doesn't have to, he doesn't get to wear any rain gear, you know. So,
true.
At least if you're the, you know, the 2 ARs in the middle guy, you're running and you're staying warm, and that poor guy is getting an earful and getting soaking wet.
So glamorous job is what you're saying.
It's a very glamorous job, yeah. Thank goodness he's making the big bucks.
Exactly right. Reynolds and St. Louis calming things down now. Yes, the rain has stayed about this intensity the entire time. James runs through and stripped it away from Boehner, but out to St. Louis. It looked like there might be some gaps in the precipitation later in the game, but we have apparently not reached that stage yet.
No, it is coming down.
And, well, a big tip of the cap to all the fans who are sticking around, almost all of them wearing ponchos, or, well, it looks like there's a small tent set up in front of us here from where our broadcast location is, covering up about 3 or 4 fans at once.
Yeah, I know that. I think the Hounds were expecting a pretty good crowd. It's unfortunate that the weather is this bad. And here's a good counter by St. Louis.
Rivas has a go, and there's Lundgaard falling down on his side.
Yeah, well done by Lundgaard there to hold that in these wet conditions. Kadeem Dakers was right there. If he did spill that one, that would have been dangerous. And I think, you know, in these conditions, Matt, talking about this is, you know, this where the conditions or some mistake, that might be the difference tonight, because both teams are going to be are staying cautious. We pointed out both teams are very, very difficult to break down. And is it going to be an error, or is it going to be a giveaway out of the back? Is a goalkeeper going to give up a rebound in the wet conditions? That could be the difference tonight.
The Hounds have 5 shots to St. Louis's 2, not to spoil the halftime stat breakdown, but that is it. Just 7 total attempts on goal in this one. Matches up with what we've seen. Only 1 on frame, and that belongs to Brett and the Hounds. Well, now 2 on frame, actually, since that turn on goal from Rivas, so 1 for each side. Bobbling around here is the sphere over on the far touchline. Dakers lost command, and the Hounds have it back.
There it is.
And that's it. No stoppage time added on, or maybe just about 10 seconds inadvertently. Yep. So there you have it. 45 minutes in the books. It's a wet one on the south side, and well, neither attack has been able to generate much. And well, that picture tells the tale, doesn't it? Everyone is soaked, so they'll take about 15 minutes to get dried off, at least, in their respective locker rooms. So, Gene, anything you can do in weather like this to try to simplify?
Well, I think that's, you just hit the key word, is you have to simplify. You have to play pretty quick, pretty clean, and make it as simple as possible, and really take advantage of any chances you might get, Matt. I do think that if you have a chance, you got to take it well. You have to follow everything, because there are going to be some shaky conditions in the penalty area, and like I said, that might be the difference tonight.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and bring it on back, go around the USL, and I'll show you some of the best in the USL Championship from the past week. I'm Matt Geiger with Gene Klein, still waiting for our first goal, but we remain optimistic here on this Saturday night in Pittsburgh. Stay with us on ESPN+.
Welcome to Moe's! At Moe's, we've always been real Southwest, and we're proud of it. It's in our name, after all. And we've always been real people, using real Southwest flavors, making real Southwest eats. And we've always built everything right on the line, fresh, just for you. Real, fresh Southwest. Welcome to Moe's. Try Moe's new Moho chicken, made with all-natural chicken breast and a refreshing citrus sauce.
All right, that's enough, you two. Don't paint your brother. No, you can't eat the clay. What can I say? Moms just know. I'm Christine Sorensen, and as a mom, I know parents know a lot. But for the few things we don't know, there's Kidsburg, your go-to resource for all the great things in our area for kids and families. Everything from kid-friendly events, creative learning, and help for parents. It's every Wednesday on KDKA TV, emailed to your inbox and online at kidsburg.org.
Okay, we hear you. Due to popular demand, #1 Cochran Nissan's 3-store supergroup just added store number 4.
Introducing #1 Cochran Nissan Cranberry, and grand opening offers at all 4 stores. Lease the all-new Altima from just $209 a month, or 0 APR for 3 years plus $2,000 customer cash and $1,000 extra for trades at #1 Cochran Nissan now.
Okay, go ahead and stand up for me. Good. Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is just
Now, if you get home and that's a little more tender,
Can I give you a hug? I can't believe it. I was in surgery this morning. Oh my gosh.
Call 412 Doctors to schedule an appointment at Allegheny Health Network.
It's the 20th anniversary season for Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC, and to that effect, we have plenty of nostalgia in store for you on the broadcast here and also on the various social media channels for the Hounds. And I get the opportunity, the pleasure of working alongside Gene Klein and Paul Child, two Pittsburgh soccer legends. You're going to see both of them in this upcoming feature here on the initial coaching staff in the history of the Hounds back in 1999. You might recognize a couple of the voices and the faces that you do hear and see on this one. So we'll throw it over to that and bring it on back in just a little bit.
The original coaching staff was John Kowalski, the head coach, a legend in Pittsburgh soccer, as well as two other legends, Paul Child and Gene Klein.
David got the job as a general manager. Immediately he turned around the next day and said, John, how about if we do this thing together? Okay, and you come back to Pittsburgh and be the head coach.
So as far as, John Kowalski goes, John, I mean, he came with all the credentials in the world, as far as coaching and where he'd coached, the national team stuff that he had done and just the knowledge that he has of the game.
You look at his resume, what he did with the national team and Pittsburgh Spirit and then in MLS, and he can get the best out of players.
Paul played for me at Pittsburgh Spirit. We had terrific chemistry.
I was doing construction, actually. I really got out of soccer and had to get a real job, It was like shock at first, and then all of a sudden started thinking about it and thought, oh yeah, I can go back into that, And
just tons of energy. Loved playing with the team.
You always wanted Paul on your team because you knew he wasn't moving very much, but if you put the ball on his right foot, he was going to score a goal.
Paul Child is never having a down day, right? He's always up, he's always upbeat, passion for soccer.
Then we asked Gene to come on board and assist us in technical aspects. And
John wanted another assistant and someone to work with the goalkeeper, so they brought me on, and it was a great adventure. Enjoyed it enormously. I thought the three of us had a great chemistry, and it was a real pleasure working together with John and Paul and David Casper.
I knew all of them for a long, long time, just growing up here, and they were all in the community and just massive forces in the soccer community here, growing up in Pittsburgh. And but I mean, Gene, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, just so much knowledge, of the game and such class, So that was awesome. I mean, and that whole group. I mean, the three of those guys, man. I mean, the education that we got from them, just from their knowledge, and they passed it on to us, as first-year pros was sort of invaluable for all of us. I mean, they just did a great job, and they were perfect for each other.
That's where Louisville wants to attack, shooting and scoring.
Saved by Caldwell.
Collier.
Yes!
Collier. Knock back towards Spencer. Brilliant finish.
was getting to play with all these fantastic players from like all over the states, and it was just really fun.
USL Championship action here in Pittsburgh. Hounds hosting St. Louis. Nothing on the board at halftime. I'm Matt Geika with Gene Klein, and it's that time in every broadcast where we take a look around the league, and starting with the power rankings. Yes, there are the standings, but there is room for some subjectivity on USLChampionship.com, and you can, well, find out every Monday how things are going. Tampa Bay, though, one of two unbeaten teams in the Eastern Conference coming into today alongside New York Red Bulls, too. Santee Moar going out west. New Mexico, new club in USL Championship, 5-1 win. He had a hat trick. Moar played for Bethlehem Steel last year and gave the Hounds fits in a couple of matches. And I mentioned this in the first half, but the next USL Championship game of the week, there's that new team, Gene. Memphis 901 taking on the champs. Like I said, the South is becoming a spot for these teams popping up.
Yeah, I mean, there's tremendous interest in the game in those areas. They seem to have this, the support in the corporate community. They have the support from the fans, and they're doing really well with that.
Let's look at the scoreboard tonight. 13 matches in all. 3 of them already completed from earlier today. There you see, well, unbeaten coming into the evening. New York Red Bulls, too. They have lost to Loudoun County. Yeah. Newcomer knocks off the top team in the East. Yeah. Bethlehem Steel suffers a loss to Indy 11, too. And then we had a 0-0 between Birmingham and Swope Park. Loudoun under the DC United umbrella.
Yeah, it's a great victory for Loudoun. I meant we're going to say the DC United affiliate. So a terrific win for them, and some other interesting scores.
And remember, this year, 18 teams in each conference, and so the top 10 will make it. The top 6 will get a bye into the second round, so that's something to keep in mind later in the year. So we'll look at the top 10 here. The Hounds, despite being unbeaten in 4, still only in 9th, so that speaks to the competitiveness of the East so far. St. Louis up there, Tampa Bay, and we know that Nashville, with MLS aspirations moving on next year, it's their last chance to do something in this league, and they're off to a fine start as well. So we'll keep track of that, obviously, throughout the rest of the season. As for right now, we see St. Louis tied for the top spot, tied with the Hounds through 45 minutes. Back for the second half kick and a look at stats and highlights after this final halftime break on ESPN+.
The Riverhounds complete their April homestand Saturday, April 27th, when Nashville SC comes to town for a 7 p.m. match at Highmark Stadium. It's Be the Kind Kid Night, presented by Pittsburgh. The first 500 kids 12 and under will receive a Be the Kind Kid t-shirt to help support anti-bullying in our surrounding schools. You can use the promo code 20 at Ticketmaster and get 2 seats for the match for just $20. Find out more at riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
Beach Bar Rum and Santo present Sammy Hagar's Full Circle Jam Tour. An all-new road trip, June 5th, Highmark Stadium. Special guest, Night Ranger. Sammy Hagar and the Circle with songs from their new album, Space Between. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Sammy Hagar and the Circle, Full Circle Jam Tour. Produced by Trusky Entertainment.
The Pittsburgh Taco Festival returns to Highmark Stadium on Saturday, June 1st, 2019. Enjoy 30-plus taco vendors, live music by Gavis Beat, and family-friendly entertainment. The festival is broken down into 2 sessions: afternoon from noon to 3 p.m. and an evening session from 4 to 7. VIP and general admission tickets are available, so get your tickets now at pghtacofest.com.
Pleasant Valley Golf Club, nestled in the Laurel Highlands of southwestern Pennsylvania, is now open to the public. Enjoy 18 holes of championship golf with a new island green and fully stocked pro shop. Our clubhouse features a large ballroom for weddings or private parties, 2 restaurants serving delicious food, a sports bar, 2 state-of-the-art golf simulators, and an outdoor patio with gas fire pit and picturesque view. Pleasant Valley Golf Club, now open to the public.
Neither side is broken yet, and we'll look back at the first half of Pittsburgh and St. Louis, the first of 2 meetings on the season, the only one on the regular season here at Highmark Stadium. And unlike last week with the Hounds home opener when they came out on fire, a bit more challenging here this evening. However, there were a couple of opportunities to look at for either side, but Pittsburgh first here, building it up out of the back as Brett, remember that one, he initially backed off and then realized I have some room to run, and nearly led to the first goal with James making the run to the back post.
Yeah, we saw that one off a counter from the backside. Ryan James, who's normally a left back, made a run on here to the right flank and almost found him at the back post, Matt.
Spun in and just a little bit away from him. And the best chance here, Boehner. First time touch, but into Greg, and he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, the Riverhounds did well to get back on that and just get a touch on that to make it very difficult for Kyle Gregg.
And here we see the foul that led to Greenspan getting the yellow card. Yeah, on second glance, that's probably deserving of a warning as he runs right through Cicerone, sends him sprawling. Advantage was given initially, and I think referee Tattersall then probably forgot that he meant to give a card on that. So that's why the delayed situation.
He came back when the play stopped and was able, and then issued the yellow.
Well, the Hounds did well on tackles in the first half. They win a ball here, and there's the lone attempt. Like I said, maybe not even on frame, but Brett decided that he was going to test keeper Fenlison, and Fenlison did not give up the rebound. And, well, here's the one chance for Brett on the backside, too, after Adewale went up.
Yeah, no call on this one. Fenlison was looking for a call on Adewale, but he got up really well to make the save on Nico Brett.
I think Brett kicking himself, maybe he should have gone to the far post, instead tried near.
And here, this one, I think they are going to call the foul, and that's on Steven DeSantos, who goes into to Fenlison. DeSantos arguing that he went up shoulder to shoulder and went up cleanly. We have a better look there, but maybe arm extended or whatever, and he's going to get booked along with Joe Greenspan.
2 yellows for the Hounds. They only committed 5 fouls, did the Hounds. 2 of them led to cards. Rivas a chance before the halftime whistle.
Yeah, and one of the better chances for St. Louis in the first half.
All right, we'll take a look at the first half stats. Shot 6-3 for Pittsburgh. 1 shot on target for each. Possession right down the middle, and we told you about the yellow cards. One stat that stands out to me, Gene, the Hounds have cleared it just 3 times. St. Louis has cleared it 14 times. So it seems like the ball had been or was more in the attacking third for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it definitely. There were stretches of the first half where St. Louis would drop back and sit deep, and their line of confrontation would be really around midfield, Matt, and then the Riverhounds would be forced to try to play into their back four, which is very strong and very well organized. And as a result, I think that's where you're seeing all those clearances.
St. Louis will attack to the right as the visitors kick off here. And as we start the second half, I want to let you know that only #1 Cochran provides you with the better car buying experience, running on Lundgaard to take this, a clearly better car buying experience. No pressure, no hassles, and a whole bunch of benefits, including a 3-day, 150-mile money-back guarantee. #1 Cochran, come on out and feel free to kick the tires. So St. Louis playing direct to start the second half. Not messing around, looking to get on top. As I said, they have not allowed a goal on the road in 2 previous matches. Will make it now 5 halves of play on the road that St. Louis has not conceded. Brett couldn't catch up to that ball, a little too assertive from Dos Santos on the touch.
And we'll see after the halftime break if anything changes tactically for Anthony Pulis for St. Louis or Bob Lilly for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Both teams had it very, very difficult to find any type of rhythm at all during the first half. Conditions have made it very, very treacherous out there. I mean, they're keeping their footing on. The Riverhounds have, as we had mentioned earlier, a new artificial surface. So I think the footing is pretty good, but still with these conditions, they have to be pretty careful.
Good point. First real weather test for the new field turf, which got rave reviews last week and also in the previous week training. That's the reason the Hounds started with 4 in a row on the road. Deep one in, Greg's running after it, but so is Dover, and Greg was offside, as it turns out.
There haven't been too many offsides this game. If that might be the second one maybe. I think I remember one earlier in the first half, and the reason for that is both back lines are gonna drop off. They don't want anything squirting behind them in these conditions and make it difficult.
Keep everything in front of you. At least that's the goal. Dos Santos can't corral that second bounce. Still in a dangerous spot for St. Louis, but the visitors do clear it here. But turning Cicerone had it slip off his foot. Rivas found him with a sharp pass. All for naught. Pittsburgh will take the throw in. Hounds attacking down to our left. Dos Santos turning. He's just been a little bit off tonight with some of the footwork, volleys and such. Funky Azil running through. Still having a hard time getting used to him in 17 this year as opposed to 27 last season. Throwing at midfield for St. Louis. St. Louis will be back at home next week against Swope Park Rangers. The Hounds finish the 3-game homestand against Nashville next Saturday. Come on out and join us. Go to riverhounds.com for more information. Another 7 o'clock start against another contender in Nashville, SC. So here's Dakers giving it up. A good run through and a read from Canardo Forbes. One of the more intelligent players you'll see.
And one of the quicker ones too is we saw him just read that really quickly, boom, and then insert himself into that space.
Maybe a little undersized, but boy, does he scoot around out there and doesn't play small for sure. Canardo Forbes.
And he's the kind of guy that could win a game in this situation where things are very tight, where you're against a very strong defensive team, a well-organized team. Maybe that 1 minute where there's a bit of a gap, Kevin Kerr or Nico Brett or Steven DeSantos making a run. Canardo Forbes is the guy that can find them, and St. Louis, I'm sure, knows that, but they need to pay attention to him at all times.
Foul call here. Gives the ball to St. Louis. Hounds out-fouled St. Louis 5-4 in the first half. Not an overly physical matchup, and just as I say that, Adewale collides and
flags up. I think they're going to call a foul on Adewale.
Just outside the 18.
Yep.
Dakers was the one who drew it.
Yeah, a little bit of a battle there. I thought there might have been a foul earlier. That they let it play on, and then when Dakers tried to get up, he was tangled up with Adewale.
So the restart will be just a yard outside.
Here's the
box.
battle there, and you can see again a little bit. Adewale wraps his leg around Dakers, and that's where the foul occurs.
So an odd angle, but some danger here for the Hounds to try to fend off. They've not yet trailed at home. This is just their second match, though, here in 2019.
Yeah, it looks like if it's Hilton, he's going to hit an outswinger, and I think Rivas could hit a dangerous in-swinger here. Tough one for the Hounds.
It'll be Hilton low, and look at that stretch from Kerr. Sets up the corner, but at least gets the ball a little bit further away.
Yeah, Hilton just trying to drive it across the goal mat, and again, with the wet conditions, hopefully that somebody gets a foot on it or causes a deflection or whatever that creates a dangerous opportunity for St. Louis.
So here's Rivas. There's the in-swinger, and it's Funky Azil with those dreads pinned back. That's why I didn't recognize him right away. Different look in the wet weather, and the Hounds break it out here. Can they make something happen on the counter? No. It'll be chipped away by Reynolds. Dos Santos pressing. Funky Azil up now. Pittsburgh setting up its pressure at the moment. Switch of play, and it comes onto the right foot of Boehner. Matt Boehner pops it ahead, running on Dakers. Adewale again in a battle with him.
Yeah, they're having a little tussle the last couple times. Good battle, though. I mean, good physical battle, fair challenges, and both of them trying to make something happen.
27-year-old Dakers against the 23-year-old Adewale. Adewale slugs it, but taken here by Fink. Sam Fink, low ball through, onto a foot, and no. Foul called against St. Louis. A little too assertive there. Maybe Cicerone was the one who got whistled.
Yeah,
he ran through.
I think, yeah, he ran through, and I think actually bumped Joe Greenspan off that play for the foul.
Kyle Gregg is saying, hey, they were swinging elbows too, but the call benefits the Hounds.
Now we see, Ben Lundgaard pushing them up high, getting, Joe Greenspan and Adewale clearing the lines and getting up to midfield.
James squats down to head this one to Kenardo Forbes, but the Jamaican is stripped by Hilton, the Englishman.
Yeah, uncharacteristically giving the ball up there for Kenardo Forbes.
Rivas offside again, 2 in a row here on the quick attempt upfield for St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis coming out a little bit more assertively this half, trying to find Gregg and Rivas earlier and trying to get behind before the Hounds can get back and get organized, and forcing Joe Greenspan and Adewale to turn and to cover this space behind them.
You can follow the Hounds and the rest of the USL Championship all season long on ESPN Plus under the USL, MLS, as we play keeper to keeper here, UFC and more. Join the over 2 million sports fans, and I'm one of them, who've already discovered ESPN Plus and watch the championship live every week. Sign up at espnplus.com. Every broadcast for the Hounds and every USL team on that network here this year, just like last year. Lundgaard giving over to Dover, and now St. Louis tries some high press, and the ball bounces their way. Still hopping around.
Yeah, we're seeing right away Cicerone and Dakers are coming up much higher than they were in the first half, and trying to make it uncomfortable for the Riverhounds back four, and so far it's worked. I mean, we're seeing the Riverhounds being forced to go back to Lundgaard a little bit earlier, and he is pushing everybody up.
Lundgaard's 4th start, 3rd consecutive here. Kyle Morton got 2 of the first 3 on the road. And this was pushed right back into the Hounds' 3rd. Adewale tracking back. So Anthony Pulis making some adjustments at the half.
Yeah, I think the tweak is we see Kadeem Dakers come up higher, and then there's Boehner coming up. They're trying to, we saw a lot in the first half where they were sitting back pretty deep. They're coming up a little bit higher and saying, hey, maybe we should push the game a little bit.
I almost hesitate to say it out of fear of the broadcaster's jinx, but the rain is lightening a bit. Maybe we'll see some more attacking play as James steps and wins the corner. So Pittsburgh gets a chance now pushing back. 5th corner for the Riverhounds.
Again, they're going to look for their convenient targets. Their 2 center backs. The main guy, Joe Greenspan, Adewale, Thomas Vankiazil. Those are the people. Adewale near post, Greenspan coming across.
Kenny Forbes, and he looked back post. That was Nico Brett lurking.
Yeah, interesting, because Adewale and Greenspan both came to the near post.
Maybe some misdirection.
Yep,
throw in Pittsburgh.
It looked like Vankiazil was going down through the center, and Nico looped out to the back post.
The Hounds like what they have off the set pieces, and talking to Bob Willie, he likes Thomas Vankiazil in addition to the obvious targets in Greenspan and Dos Santos. Adewale has a set piece goal this year.
Well, they definitely have some options there, Matt. There's no question about it. They have some targets. We have 4 or 5 guys that are excellent in the air and can get on the end of things. And even players like Nico Brett and Kevin Kerr are not known for their prowess in there. They're certainly able to win some good headers, and they are dangerous. They are threats, and they know how to find spaces. So if you're paying all the attention to 2 center backs, those guys can loop into the right space, and no call there.
Cicerone is
another collision with Cicerone.
Run into, that was Adewale this time. Ball was long gone by then, that's why no call. Forbes steps on the accelerator here, skids one to the far side. And he has Dover. To Kevin Kerr, hasn't had many touches here lately. Kerr bending one in.
Yeah.
Dos Santos making a run, but it was 2-on-1 in the 6-yard box.
And again, credit to St. Louis, because that's a dangerous delivery from Kevin Kerr. He whipped that thing right in there to the near post, but St. Louis, again, with with Fink and Kavita, they dropped off. They're tracking players into the box, and they were able to get a clearance there. But those balls are dangerous, and all it takes is one little slip up, and somebody get on the end of it, and that can be the difference in the game.
Dover lost control here, wins it back. No, not legally. And so St. Louis gets the restart, 58th minute. And we're seeing signs of offensive life here to start this second half for both teams. Really, I feel like that both sides are making some inroads. And another yellow has been issued to Pittsburgh. Is that Vankiazil who
I think it
was called before the court?
You know, look,
Dover, pardon me. Well, yeah, Dover was the one who committed the professional foul, so to speak, as he reached around the man to keep him from breaking back on the attack. All right, so Dover.
You know, three bookings, not a lot of fouls. I don't know what our statistics are. It's, you know.
It's not 10 yet in total fouls. I think it's 7 from my count. It's a heck of a ratio. We will see the replay. Thanks to Gage Tillotson and the folks at Vista for this look.
You know,
sort of thing you see a lot, I feel like.
It's that might be one that you would call, I think, after there's been quite a few of that, and really there haven't. It's been a well-played game.
Cicerone trying to run the gauntlet. Greenspan fending him off. This is Kerr with some open field. Kevin Kerr, 30-year-old Scotsman, the senior member of the Hounds, missed on that connection to Dos Santos, and a little bit of frustration starting to show for Steven and Kevin on a couple of the missed connections here recently. Tough game in terms of generation. Dakers runs through. Cut him. Dakers let it go quickly, and he missed. He was trying to catch Lundgaard by surprise.
Yeah, good counter by St. Louis again, and able to play quickly. And again, we see Cicerone and Dakers really pushing up a little bit higher, and they've been dangerous so far. They've created some situations. So, you know, long ball coming through, and there goes Dakers right through, right past Kyle Gregg, and almost gets the shot. The Riverhounds not as alert as they might have been. Toby Adewale a step late on that, and there goes Dakers flying by. And late there too on Gregg. So Riverhounds are going to, in the back, are going to have to be a little bit more concerned with what's going on with Cicerone and Dakers, because they still have the two up front to deal with.
Counter-attacking push. Dos Santos lays it off to Ryan James. Headed clear.
Good delivery from Ryan James, and again another dangerous clearance taken care of by St. Louis.
And then we go suddenly. No foul call that time. Brett sprays Dos Santos, and right on back at Adewale. If you're wondering why are they still playing soccer at 9:23, we had about an hour delay. Lightning kept us from kicking off, and the rain has now finally lessened. It was a miserable first 45 or 50 minutes for these players and coaches and officials. Dover Hounds are offside. Kevin Kerr a step ahead of the last defender, second to last defender. You can get updates and alerts all year long by following your club on ESPN.com. Search for Riverhounds and then click the follow button to keep up with the latest news and scores. Plus get reminders on the Hounds' next match. Go to ESPN.com now and click follow for your club. Yes, the Hounds are on there. Every USL championship team has a page. That was a shoddy restart from St. Louis.
Yeah, not the best restart from Flintstone, and you know, careless giveaway really. And I think you had mentioned the rain has subsided here, Matt, and it's and I wonder if that's given both teams a little bit more confidence to go forward, especially St. Louis, who was very cautious in that first 45, and now they're looking to take a few more chances. They're pushing some players up a little bit higher. and trying to connect a little bit more with some of the midfielders also.
Well, we're more than an hour in, and I think you're right on, bang on with that assessment. Since the rain has lessened, we've seen more by way of entertainment. Dos Santos did control this one in the air, doing what he does best. Brett and now James suddenly very involved here. Tommy V gives it back out of Wally. Hard ball here. James did very well to tap it to himself, but then lost command, and the Hounds out of Wally gives it up to the St. Louis back line. Joaquin Rivas, the El Salvadorian national. To the far side, and Cicerone is stripped. Jordan Dover closing down the flank, and then he's fouled on his way through.
Yeah, a little frustration there from Cicerone, who wanted a foul a few minutes before, and then he gets tries to take on Jordan Dover 1v1, and Jordan Dover picks his pocket, and Cicerone comes back with the foul on Jordan Dover.
I wonder if it'll be Dover or James who sparks something here. The twin Canadians on the outside.
See the replay, and then here's the foul on with Cicerone.
James and Dover played together with Bob Lilly in Rochester a couple of years ago, and they also came up together in Ontario. Two guys with a lot of pace on the outside. And James with a couple of assists already in his first Riverhounds season.
Yeah, and we've seen today a couple of excellent deliveries into the penalty area that St. Louis has done well to clear.
James tries to take this aerial duel, and he does. He's given up several inches in that battle. Brett to the open man. Forbes has some room to run. Kerr takes it a little bit behind him, but he controls. Kerr and Forbes, two of the craftier members of the Hounds, working together in that far corner. Dover overran it a bit. Now the Hounds put together a few passes. Brett off a body. Oh my, punch clear by Fenlison.
Yeah, Fenlison a little bit off his line there, anticipating the cross, and the ball came back in, and he had to react to it and get a hand on it.
Corner kick number 6.
Nico, it was a little bit of deflection. That was it. When Nico Brett hit it and was deflected, and Fenlison had to react to it and did well to do that.
Friendly fire. Kerr's corner right into the 6 and cleared away. Well done by Greg, who has been known to win a few headers in the attacking third. That time he put those skills to use in the defending third. Throw in for the black and gold. Kerr. Dover takes a quick step. Dover slides it through, and it's over to Brett. Jamaican national to James. Into the box. Dabo went up for it, and whistle sounds. Offside. Dabo.
Haven't seen a lot from Dabo tonight, and I think we need to see a little bit more of him, because right now it is Zavanki Azil and Canado Forbes with the majority of the touches in the midfield. And I think for the Riverhounds to try to break down this very, very solid 2 blocks of 4, really, with the midfield 4 and the back 4, we're going to need to see Modabo finding some space and connecting a little bit better with the Dos Santos. One of the things we haven't seen so far in the second half, Matt, is they haven't been able to find Dos Santos, I'm sure, as consistently as they would like. And so we're going to see a change with that right now.
Oh, there you have it.
There you go.
Out.
Yeah, Dabo out, and Anthony Velarde is in. So maybe that's what Bob Lilly seeing the same thing, is that Velarde's a little bit more comfortable in those tight spaces, has some better touches, and he might be able, with a dangerous
watch out,
chance.
Hilton slicing through, but saving the day. Dover cutting in.
Tremendous effort from Jordan Dover to get over there, because, man, the backs definitely parted out there. But I think they're calling offside.
No, they're calling a foul here on Rivas. The ball stayed in. I thought it was cleared out.
I did too, yep.
A little bit out of our field of vision here in the press box at Highmark Stadium. I'm Matt Geika. Gene Klein is along with me for our second consecutive week, bringing you Riverhounds live action. The Hounds took about a month to get around to playing a home match.
Yeah, that was one of those areas of the field that were a bit of a blind spot for us. So
we'll do our best. And well, thanks to the folks at Vista for their great looks. They're a big help for us too. And Ryan Rose now at the switch. So I apologize, Gage started us off.
But anyway, we'll see. I mean, you know, how this changes because Velarde will play more wide, and so far it looks like he's putting Nico Brett underneath Dos Santos with Kevin Kerr and Velarde wide.
Dos Santos controls, and it's Brett to Vunky Azil. Kerr all the way over at the touchline.
And what
Tommy
I think
B
we could
off the
see
leg.
also is Kerr and Nico Brett can both play that spot underneath Dos Santos. So we might see a lot of movement from those two.
Here comes the cross in, and Dos Santos went up for it, nodded away from him. James keeps St. Louis bottled in.
Yeah, well done by Kavita there.
Forbes. Negative ball here for Velarde, and put it off the studs of Matt Boehner. Velarde, the all-time leading scorer at Fresno Pacific University. He was a D2 first-team All-American last year, the rookie. Forbes, a cheeky little attempt. I don't know if that was supposed to be a shot, but it ended up being right on frame.
But those are the ones that can sneak through, or somebody can be making a run in there and just get a touch on it, and those are tough. But so the Riverhounds have changed it up a little bit. I think Bob really did not feel that there was enough in the midfield. The players were not really combining well, and he feels Velarde, who has that ability and comfortability on the ball, to maybe settle things down a little bit more in the midfield. He can find Dos Santos. Nico Brett can use his ability. Oh, here's one dangerous one there.
Dos Santos runs through, and Fenlison clears it away and well out, so Pittsburgh gets possession back because of that.
Yeah. But they're, looking. I think they have to find Dos Santos more, and Nico Brett, who can play underneath. But then, if Dos Santos comes in to win it, Nico Brett's going, and that can be dangerous and force the back line of St. Louis to answer some tough questions and how they're going to pick those guys up. And I think that's what they're looking for right now.
Down to our final 20 minutes in Pittsburgh, give or take. A deep throw for the Hounds coming up. Who's up, who's down? Where does your club sit? Find out every Monday in the official USL Championship Power Rankings, only at USLChampionship.com. Both of these clubs have impressed early on. They've been high on the rankings lately. St. Louis just the one loss. Same deal for Pittsburgh. Trying to grind out a result here tonight are the Hounds on the home pitch. Stepping to here, forcing the issue Greenspan, and the ball's given off to Velarde. He sends James away. James, back post, too strong, and it nearly spun back into play, but did not, just over the end line. And
looks like
a second substitution.
Yeah, Christian Valesky for Kevin Kerr.
So Kerr will have a seat, and the former St. Louis striker, Christian Valesky, who actually scored for St. Louis against the Hounds here 2 years ago. Well, Valesky tries to make this a storyline, the 26-year-old Nevadan. Nothing on the board for him so far, but he's been battling through a leg injury, lower leg injury that he suffered early on. He's appeared in 3 matches. He started 1, did Valesky. I believe that was the first one at Tampa Bay. But now he's back on the surface after a couple of weeks out.
Yeah, and Valesky, another one of Bob Lilly's ex-Rochester Rhino players. And as you've mentioned, we have seen him with the Rhinos and with St. Louis do some damage to Pittsburgh. So hopefully he can do some damage against St. Louis here tonight.
Dabo out, Velarde in. That's an offensive move. And now Kerr out and Valesky in, adding some finish as Bob Lilly to the 11 on the pitch.
Yeah.
Velarde, look at him run through and take that ball. Cutting across, and now back to the inside. Sends one right toward the spot. Dos Santos was down on a knee, and it was taken away.
Good outlet from Rivas.
Rivas to Cicerone. He's going to try against Greenspan. No sale. Greenspan fended him off, but that will be a corner. Into the 72nd minute we go in search of our first goal.
So we see Valesky coming on the left side. Velarde, who came in on the left for Mo Dabo, is now more comfortable on his right side. and Valesky will be here on the left, and Nico Brett's still going to be underneath Dos Santos as we see St. Louis get ready for another corner kick.
Just St. Louis's third. Lewis Hilton will do the honors. Leads this team in chances created, does Hilton.
Where Sam Fink, they're going to try to find him.
Fink's going up for it, and punch clear by Lundgaard. Here come the Hounds, maybe, but no. Forbes dispossessed, but here's Velarde. Boy, he's showing some fresh legs, as you might imagine.
Yeah, great run by Valesky.
Velarde headed
and
off
Nico
the pass,
Brett
but he
is
still gets
on.
it back. Brett was over on our near wing for a moment.
Yeah, just Velarde just held on to it. We had two guys running, and when you're making that break, you got to deliver that early ball.
Brett to James. James wants to go around Boehner. Unable to do so, but there's the corner kick call. Oh no, they call it a goal kick. Really? I don't know how that's a goal kick, but that is the call. And I was wondering why I heard someone protest down there. It seemed like a
I
pretty
would say
easy
the
call.
Riverhound bench is not really happy with that one. And
We apologize for any inconvenience.
fourth official.
We're going to get a replay, so we're fortunate in that way. Femlison's still waiting to put it back in. I don't think that's off James. Yep, that's just a missed call.
I missed that one.
And that hurts the Hounds' cause to try to get on the scoreboard here.
Yeah, that was pretty obvious one too. I don't know how they.
Santos,
I would say the rain got in their eyes, but it stopped raining.
Maybe just a little bit of drizzle still falling. It's become a very cool evening on the Mon. Sliding through out of Wale. Disjointed play now. Dakers runs, and he couldn't get past Forbes. So now St. Louis back in its own half. In the 74th. Deep one, that'll skid on the wet pitch out. Goal kick Hounds.
I'm not going to track that one down. So again, I see Canardo Forbes talking a little bit to Velarde, and I think he was probably going on to him about that pass counter attack where we had a terrific breakout, runners going. Valesky made a great run diagonally across, which opened up a great space. Nico Brett read it well. He had the entire half of the field, and Velarde had his head down and could not pick him out. And when you're on a break like that, you have to play that ball early.
Have to move quickly. Valesky, he zigged when Brett thought he might be zagging. Valesky gives a thumbs up nonetheless. Looking forward to seeing what Valesky can bring to the Hounds this season. Obviously in this game right now, maybe he can provide that last bit of quality.
Well, you're looking for the guys in a hard-fought game like this tonight. Who are the guys with some fresh legs? I mean, both teams are going to bring in some subs that want some fresh legs, and can they do something a little bit extra, a little bit special, that quick little burst that might be the game decider.
Hounds have to defend now, though. Matt Boehner, the Ohio native, will put it back into play. Picks out a man making a run. That was Greg. Ends up on the foot of Rivas. Sends negative here to Aben. Still no subs for St. Louis in this one. Here comes a high cross. Oh boy, Lundgaard and Greg was maybe 6 inches away.
Yeah,
from
he was pretty close there. I actually was worried that Lundgaard was waiting for that, and Greg was going to beat him to it for a half second, but he measured it well.
Lundgaard versus Fenlison. Lundgaard has one clean sheet at Louisville 2 weeks ago. That was the Hounds' first win. They've won 2 in a row coming into this one.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Fenlison, 3 shutouts and 6 starts. And here comes Albert Dikwa, the Cameroonian, 21 years old. He'll slap hands with Kadim Dakers. Oh, Dakers with a hard night's work. He's off to the bench, and Dikwa is in.
St. Louis substitution, number 10, Albert Quoi, and number 13, Kadim Dakers.
Dikwa, the prospect, but already in his second pro year here stateside. He played for St. Louis last season as well.
Yeah, Dikwa went to Monteverde Academy in Florida. Really has been producing a number of players both at the pro level and the college level. I know them well because University of Pittsburgh has several players from that academy. So it'll be interesting to see what Elbert can do here, and is he going to be the fresh legs that could be the difference for St. Louis as he pressures Toby Adewale there, and now Ryan James, which Rivas comes up with it.
How about Rivas there, but Bunky Azil, the second line of defense, and he pokes it away from Rivas. Quoi rangy, he'll be a handful again on this near wing. 77 minutes gone. These two organized squads muddled through a rain-soaked first half. It's been more attacking here in the second, but still nothing up there on that big scoreboard across the way. Valesky, well, he miscommunicated there with Bunky Azil. Either one could have gotten there first, and they both backed off. So now Quoi.
Yeah.
Quoi with those orange boots has a bit of a step here on James, and it's off Adewale. Unfortunately for the Hounds, just out for a throw.
Yeah, well done by Toby Adewale covering that the space. But again, they're looking for Quoi right away, and putting a little bit of pressure on the Riverhounds at this point. Interested to see if any more substitutes will be used by St. Louis, because again, you're at that stage maybe, you know, that you want to get some people in. If you're going to get some fresh legs in, you want them shortly.
Otherwise, not much time. Boehner. Oh, look at this one. A dipping ball. And the Hounds collapsed on that. Is that Dover again?
Yeah, Dover, Greenspan. Jordan Dover's been very, very alert on that backside.
You have to be. It's a big responsibility, the outside back. You're counted on to shut down the wingers, to push the attack when you have the chance, and also to help out centrally. Here's Dover again.
Because St. Louis has been very, very good on any of the crosses. We see Cicerone, and they're making those hard runs into that back post. And Dover has had to track him, and he's been very, very alert and came up with some key deflections, headers, clearances for the Riverhounds.
Available subs for St. Louis: Paris G, Audie Jepson, Oscar Umar, and Austin Martz. Too deep here for Pittsburgh. Goal kick, and now the rain picks up again. Jake Fenlison will hop on this. For the Hounds on the bench, Uchenna Uzo, Sammy Kasai, both of whom have not played yet for Pittsburgh this year. Noah Frankie, second-year Hound. More of a winger type. He's available, as is Robbie Mertz, the Pittsburgh native who played last week. He's played the last 2 weeks, in fact, has Mertz, former Michigan Wolverine. Native of South Hills of Pittsburgh. Valesky running through Boehner, forcing him away and taking the ball. Forbes has an open man.
Oh, great look.
It's Velarde. Wanted to tap it through quickly, and he was closed down. Pittsburgh throwing.
Again, Canardo Forbes with that a little bit of space in the midfield. He can find that. He can find the open man early, and Riverhounds almost were able to put something on goal.
Dos Santos sprawled down and took a hard spill, and to add insult to that injury, the ball was off him. And out to St. Louis. 81st minute.
Yeah, you mentioned players like Frankie and Robbie Mertz. Matt, both of those guys are players who are very, very quick, and with these conditions might be able to bring a little bit extra energy and be able to take some guys on one-on-one too in these conditions. So we'll see if Bob really wants to make any further changes.
Hounds have made 2 subs. St. Louis has made 1. It's the St. Louligans versus the Steel Army tonight in Pittsburgh. Hounds in the black and the gold. They usually are at home. With a white last week. Bunky Azil unable to catch up to that, and Guy Ben played it away. Offside as Quoi puts his hands on his head, but that appeared to be the proper call.
Yeah, he started that one about a half day early, I think. No question about that one. A little bit too anxious coming into the game, trying to make something happen. As you can see, the rain looks like it's picking up again.
Final 10 are going to be soggy at Highmark Stadium. Dos Santos, a clean header across, but no one there. Brett was retracted just a touch. James plays it over here to Adewale with Bob Lilly yelling instructions over there. The Hounds have lost just 6 times under Lilly since he took over at the start of last season. And this an errant ball over Velarde's head. Well, Bob was seated at the start of this match, but as usual, as it goes along, he gets closer and closer. And talking to Valesky, you mentioned his old charge from Rochester. Valesky and Dos Santos, 2 strikers brought in this offseason, and 2 players who have scored a ton in this league.
Yeah, and really have added a lot to the Riverhounds and bring a lot of experience and a lot of quality. So, you know, it's really nice to have that option coming off the bench when you can bring a kid like Valesky into the game.
Both Valesky and Dos Santos won the USL Championship.
There's Bob
in 2015.
Trying to
Played
peer
for
through
Coach
the rain and a hat and a hood.
We were
well protected with some Riverhound rain gear.
We were commenting at halftime, though. It's easier for the players than it is for the coaches to just stand there and take the beating from the weather. James,
good ball.
Good ball in. Valesky turns, and he's dispossessed.
Yeah, I think it was Fink right there. Did very, very well. Very calm, very composed. Stood his ground, and you know, just kind of waited until Valesky tried to turn. As soon as he saw a ball, he cleared it away. So. Mentioned this early in the first half, but St. Louis back 4 has been done very well.
Experienced back
there
line.
you see Fink, patient, composed, boom, boom, right in there. Wins the ball. No desperation. It shows you his experience.
It can be a spot where things get dicey right around the goal. Forbes slows it down. Nardo Forbes will step over, and
Ryan
James again. He's been the trigger man from this left side.
Good delivery.
Soars over the head of Dos Santos. He was pointing over to Velarde. Maybe he was supposed to be in that spot, at least in Steven's perspective. And now players running through each other, banging into each other.
I'll tell you, it seems so far here the last 10, 15 minutes, Matt, if somebody's going to make a play, it is Ryan James, because he's the one that's been pushing up from this left flank, and they've been able to find him and with some time, with some space. He's whipped some balls in there. You have to, if you can only find DeSantis or somebody getting on the end of these things, the Riverhounds might be able to get the goal they desperately want.
James already led this team in crosses coming in. He has at least 4 or 5 tonight. Hilton, Gaia Bend. And the turnover. St. Louis now trying to track back as Velarde will pick up the pace. And again, just the quality lacking there, that last ball to send somebody home.
A little bit of inexperience is shown from Velarde. You're coming in here in the second half sub. I mean, you know, we told him he held on to it the last counter too long. That time he played it too early. There was really no one there, and you know, just a wasted ball.
Banki Azil, and he's stripped. Greenspan stepping up, keeps it alive for a moment. Here's Rivas.
Yeah, he's done. Boy, I'll tell you, he's done well. He's very composed in tight spaces. Is able to bring players into the game quite comfortably. Doesn't get rattled with a bunch of bodies around him.
That is Dequa rather, who has changed wings. He's on the left side now for St. Louis. Visitors probing and in search of that seam or that channel. Here's Valesky breaking it up. Valesky turns and does well to keep that alive.
Does well to say that.
And now right back to Dos Santos, his former Rhinos teammate. But Steven can't control.
Yeah, Steven not having the game he had last week. I see him holding his hamstring a little bit. I don't know if he's struggling or hurting a little bit. And I think if Bob uses his third sub, it's going to be for DeSantis.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We mentioned a couple of the attacking players still available to him. He chooses to go that route. Now we're in the 87th minute. Rivas, Cicerone, Russell Cicerone, the former FC Cincy attacking midfield. Cicerone controls on the second touch here. Ball in for Rivas, too tall.
And the Hounds are making that sub, and it is for DeSantis. Or no.
No, it's Brett out.
It's Brett.
Nico Brett out, so 9, not 8 checking out for the black and gold, and it's Noah Frankie, former Creighton Blue Jay, second-year Riverhound, native of Orlando, Florida, formerly of the Orlando City youth organization, played for their under-23 team. Frankie can provide some pace.
He definitely has some pace. And, we'll see how they change this up. Because no, Frankie's usually out wide.
Right now, the Hounds just trying to fend it off. Falling down Greenspan, and Quoi was called for the foul.
I see Velarde over here in the left side again. And it looks like maybe Dos Santos is going to come underneath as Valesky has gone up to the number 9, or they're probably going with 2 up high. Yeah, because Frankie's going up.
Well, there's Frankie working
wide.
hard.
Velarde's on the left side. So it looks almost like a 4-4-2 for the Riverhounds.
Frankie gets his second touch. Into
Oh!
the box, Valesky! Oh my!
Wow.
The flick behind his back and nearly guided it inside the near post.
Yeah, with his either outside of the foot or his back heel, and terrific little effort as we see Anthony Pulis working the poor unprotected fourth official, who's
all diverse. Yeah, we'll drop his name again because he deserves it tonight.
Yeah. But you know, again, gets the cross in behind Valesky. Yeah, a little back heel that would have been up for goal of the week for sure had that gone in.
I venture to say that would have won if it would have gone in.
So for sure, I think Riverhounds going to a 4-4-2. They're going to keep Canardo Forbes and Thomas Vankia Zeal in the center midfield. They're moving Frankie, and they're going to move Velarde out wide and maybe try to find the big Dos Santos or Valesky up high. Although Dos Santos is dropping pretty deep for the Riverhounds.
Both teams running out of time. 90 seconds to go in regulation. And then we'll see about added time. It can't be much. We haven't had any long injury delays or anything like that. Spinning away Quoi. Gets past Adewale. Quoi crosses right through. Deflection. Greg missed the open side. Whoa. The first man on it was Gaia Bend at the spot, and his shot was blocked, but it came right to Greg, and he just couldn't adjust in time to put it on frame.
Yeah, best moment of the night for St. Louis with you know, a couple crosses and a few shots, deflections.
They'll add 2 minutes.
And that was a dangerous one, dangerous for the Riverhounds, and a great opportunity for St. Louis to try to nick one in.
That would have been something. And
2 minutes stoppage time.
Valesky, after close calls on both ends of the pitch, now it's Pittsburgh's turn. We're going to take a quick look at the replay as Pittsburgh readies for the throw.
As we see that ball get around Adewale, cross in, deflection. Poor.
It was blocked by Dover initially.
Yeah, Dover again, who's been terrific all night, as we mentioned, with those staying alert on those balls coming across to the back post.
It is now pouring again in Pittsburgh. Hopeful cross there, intercepted by St. Louis. Back to Toby Adewale. Greenspan, 2 added on. Now the audience knows. Steven Dos Santos to Valesky, can't settle it. Now flicked in, diving to try to get there.
Not clear.
Dos Santos still not out. Frankie offside. Riverhounds. Frankie gave it, and Canardo Forbes is the man who was guilty, but just barely. And well, the entire St. Louis back line put their hands up.
Yeah. I think no, Frankie, if he has that one back, would have chose to serve that right back in front of the goal, because we still had Dos Santos lurking in there and a ball on his head, and St. Louis was scrambling to get out. So that one of the few times, you know, they weren't a well-oiled machine in the back line.
Just about a minute to go, barring something unforeseen. Neither side's played a 0-0 game yet this year. The Hounds had a run of them early last season. You might remember Dos Santos rising high. Valesky, Dos Santos very close to the touchline over there are the Riverhounds. They'll take this throw gladly, but they'll need to hurry.
Yeah.
The throw to Frankie. Noah Frankie, a fine little cutback move, but he eventually lost control to Cicerone. gunned out toward the center line. And the foul against the Hounds. That'll hurt.
Yeah, I think Greenspan was tangled up with him there. And now they put it away, and that's going to be a booking because Vanke tossed it away.
Exactly, so that's the 4th yellow for the Hounds in this match. None for St. Louis. Call it 90 plus 2 for that yellow card.
Yellow card to the Riverhounds number 17, Thomas Frankie is illegal.
Not the prettiest match tonight. The two teams are still grinding, though.
Yeah, it was not the beautiful game tonight, that's for sure. But you do see two teams that are very, very competitive, are very difficult to break down, are very, very well coached, well organized. And there are going to be two teams that are going to be competing for the top spots in the USL.
That's the conclusion I come to as well. So I think it's going to amount to one last look for St. Louis here, and it's a long shot, literally, from way back.
See Ben Lundgaard shouting out some instructions. That's a long one in. And
Greenspan's going to get around it. Played it off out of Wale, who volleys it clear. Ball in the air. Will the Hounds get one last opportunity from the referee?
There's Ryan James.
James, what a great job to reach out with that left toe.
And he whip it in. Can he find the center?
Back post play. Frankie nods it down. He wanted a handball in the area. He wasn't going to get it, and that will do it. That is all from Highmark Stadium. A 0-0 final on a pitch that's dripping wet, to say nothing of the players and the coaches and the officials. And, well, several hundred Hounds fans, hardy Hounds fans, who stayed all the way through. Unfortunately, the Hounds could not deliver the victory, but they do get a result, and Pittsburgh extends its unbeaten streak now to 5. That is the longest currently in the USL Championship. 2-0-3 is Pittsburgh since that opening loss at Tampa Bay, and St. Louis stays at the top of the table with Red Bulls 2 loss this evening. St. Louis takes a step ahead. So we'll be right back for highlights and stats and wrap this one up from Pittsburgh in a moment on ESPN+.
I should have been a cowboy. Toby Keith and his That's Country Bro Tour 2019. Red Solo Cup. Live in concert. I fill you up, made in America. Friday, September 27th at Highmark Stadium. Toby Keith on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Drusky Entertainment and Kirchner Concerts. Toby Keith and his That's Country Bro Tour.
What do you call it when Western Pennsylvania's largest automotive retailer begins selling the region's most popular brand?
Chevroletary, which also describes our grand opening offers.
Introducing the all-new #1 Cochran Chevrolet, where you'll find a special 2-year lease on a sporty Trax from just $99 a month. The unequaled Equinox as low as $139 a month, plus $1,000 extra for trades at the all-new #1 Cochran Chevrolet.
The Pittsburgh Taco Festival returns to Highmark Stadium on Saturday, June 1st, 2019. Enjoy 30-plus taco vendors, live music by Valesky, and family-friendly entertainment. The festival is broken down into 2 sessions: afternoon from noon to 3 p.m. and an evening session from 4 to 7. VIP and general admission tickets are available, so get your tickets now at pghtacofest.com.
St. Louis stays unbeaten on the road. Pittsburgh stays unbeaten at home in a limited sample size. I guess that's the positive for both teams as you take a look at the Riverhounds team talk. Bob Lilly in there with the hood up, and you need a hood on a night like tonight. Boy, was it brutal in terms of conditions, but I guess that's in play here in April in Pittsburgh. Let's take a look at the highlights. I'm Matt Geica with Gene Klein. Back in the first half, Pittsburgh had a look here. Ryan James, he was on the end of this ball from Kevin Kerr as we went from post to post.
Yeah, that was a big counter from the Riverhounds, and James broke out from the left to the right, and the ball was just a little bit too far for him.
Yeah, not quite on the end of it. A collision, and Brett, possibly Pittsburgh's best look there. I don't think there's any dispute, in fact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Fenelson did very well to make that particular save. He was looking for a foul, Nico Brett maybe wants another opportunity at that one. And here's one with Rivas, who was very good all night, and well done by Lundgaard to make the save.
One of just a couple shots on frame for St. Louis. So Lundgaard keeps the clean sheet, his second as a professional. He works his way in an alone agreement.
Dakers running clearly through it when, again, St. Louis was very dangerous there early in the second half, and that was when Dakers ran through and kind of caught the Riverhounds a little bit. There was one off a deflection of a shot of Nico Brett, but Vince Lund did well to react to that and adjust himself to make that save.
So Brett's still looking for his first goal from the run of play. This late, Frankie sending it, and Christian Valesky nearly rolling the highlight reel with the back heel flick behind his back. That would have been something.
That would have been something, and that was something you need in a game like tonight. And here's a late little scramble. Cal Gregg just pulls that one a little bit short, and that was part of the best moment for St. Louis.
So pinball goes Pittsburgh's way in the end. Dover blocks it, comes right to Gregg, but he can't finish. The Hounds only had one shot in the second half, so I'm sure they'll be disappointed with that. There you see the possession 50-50. And as always, when it's a draw, the road team is almost always going to be a little bit more pleased with that result. And I mentioned St. Louis now 2-0-1 away from home. But also for the Hounds, Gene, going up against a team that is as hot as any in St. Louis despite last week's loss. I'm not sure you can really nitpick this one terribly, considering the conditions, too.
No, I think it was a fair result for both. As we see, Bob Lilly still trying to dissect it in the rain out there, but both sides are, as we said throughout the game, I mean, you can tell their quality. They have some very good players up front, and they're very well organized in the back. St. Louis had a game plan to come in to make it very difficult for the Riverhounds to break them down, and it was a struggle, and the conditions did not help.
A struggle as far as just staying dry out there was pretty much impossible. There you see the Steel Army waiting for the end of the team talk. There's just a handful of them left here. Next time these two teams will get together will be all the way in October on the 12th in St. Louis. As for next week, Hounds at home against Nashville SC, and St. Louis returns to Missouri to host Swope Park Rangers in a Midwest matchup. So, thank you for hanging with us all night tonight on ESPN+. For Gene Klein, for Gage Tillotson, and Ryan Rose back in Vista, I'm Matt Geica saying good night from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.